So my name is Melissa Dagne. I am Instructional Designer for the Health Professions, the Assistant Director of Instructional Technology officially, but in this capacity, doing Canvas trainings and helping with the transition. I'm here to make sure that everybody's comfortable with getting your courses ready for your students. So I was chatting before we started to record. This is the 5th session on this particular topic this week. So I feel like I've finally gotten into a groove and know what's important, and maybe you're going to get the better info at the end of the week than everybody else, all my guinea pigs at the beginning. But I'm showing my screen right now, and it's got the schedule. And I just want to reiterate to everyone that if the RSO schedule does not work for you, you've got a conflict at 10:30 on Fridays after this week, then you can jump into any of the other sessions at the other times with the same Zoom link. And I do try to talk to the same points. I will say that the SOPT on Wednesdays at 3, it's a little bit different because they've already been using Canvas for an entire semester. So that one's a little odd, but definitely nursing, pharmacy, and RSO have a lot in common. Okay, so I would like to start today with talking about what's going to happen over these next few weeks, just to get your bearings. ITS, they've moved all of your Blackboard courses from 2020, or they're in the process of doing so. Summer was put into Canvas, but they're just messy and they need some attention. And I've got 3 methods of how you're going to want to plan, maybe how you want to build for summer if you're teaching in summer. Now, if you're here early and you're teaching in the fall, then you're just going to be in a really comfortable place and not feel as rushed. And that's not a problem. It's always a good thing. So the first session today is going to be that overview. I just want to sort of explain what your options are. I'm going to give you a demonstration tour of what those things look like. And I'll probably wrap up, fairly early to give you lots of time to ask questions. So I will talk just briefly about the upcoming topics. So after we go through all of this overview today, this next week would be organization and settings. And that's going to talk really about the back-end control you have of customizing your course experience for your students, talking about really setting up a quality file structure, making sure you know what to do with all your materials, and just that, back-end sort of management that you're going to need to know to be successful moving forward. The third topic is going to be editing and building content areas. So that's always popular. We all need to know what to do with our PowerPoints or how to tell our students information. So we will spend an hour talking about all of the different ways that you can do that. The 4th session is preparing graded assignments. So we'll talk about all the things you might want to do to give a grade. You might want to do discussion boards, you might want to do regular assignments, you might want to do quizzes. And we will specifically talk about how managing your graded assignments is what builds your gradebook in Canvas. So that's a big difference in the features. So all the stuff you had to do in Blackboard, Canvas is kind of streamlined and takes care of it for you. The 5th topic is going to be creating modules and structure. So once you've collected all of your stuff and you've got your syllabus and you've got some PowerPoints and you've got videos and documents and you've organized them and you've built out what you want to do, putting it into a way that students can navigate it easily and hopefully lower the number of questions and confusion that you might experience if you don't have modules and structure. And then that last topic is going to be finalize and publish. And that's just, really going to be putting the last pieces into place, some of the tools that Canvas offers to be able to check your work, make sure your links aren't broken, make sure that students can see all of the materials you want them to see and can't see the ones that maybe you don't. And then publishing. So there's 3 levels of publishing in Canvas that you control. On the file level, where you can have things very specific. You've got a little bit larger specific items within your course, like the modules. And then you have the actual entire course that you're going to need to push a button to make it live. And then that last session will probably leave a good amount of time to answer any last questions you have as you're wrapping up the process. So I've got the chat open. We've got a small group, so please keep it informal and please just interrupt and talk to me if you have any questions along the way. I am going to close this, and now you're going to see I've got Blackboard on one side and I have Canvas on the right. So just to be really basic, I'd like to show you some resources in case you're feeling like along the way, maybe you want to look into something further. Maybe you are not, completely sure and clear on all of it. We have got a UIW Canvas page. It's got a lot of great information on it. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And you now have access to this. So on this page, you basically are going to find the migration schedule. When will you see your courses from Blackboard? You're going to find answers to questions and places you can get extra help. Then we've also got this help button in Canvas. And this black bar is called your global navigation. And your global navigation, that's always visible no matter what course you're in, and your students also see it. It doesn't change ever unless you add groups to your course. If you add groups, then students get an extra icon so that they can access their group. We will be having a couple of additional icons coming up in the future where we're going to be sharing university resources so that policies, accommodations, students with disabilities, all of that, institution type knowledge that people want to share out, no matter what course they're in, that's going to be covered there. And then we're also going to have a libraries icon to be able to get to that library information. So this will be changing ever so slightly, but once it's in place, then it's good to go. So on this help area, you can call Canvas support. So if you're working 9 o'clock or later at night, maybe you get stuck on something, you can give them a call, they'll answer, or you can chat with them and they can walk you through exactly what steps you need to accomplish what you're trying to do. Okay, so I said that we were going to talk about your options for what you're doing, right? Everybody's getting their Blackboard content and it's in a little bit rough shape. Don't necessarily want to leave it like that. Got to get it ready for our students. So you've got 3 methods. And I do have some information I will send in a follow-up email that has all of this that I'm talking about written out. It's just a checklist for you to use as a resource. So don't feel like if you don't catch something, it's okay. I'll send that to you after this session. So we've got 3 options, and I have created some sample courses for you to be able to take a look. The first one is a faculty sandbox. And a sandbox is just an empty course, doesn't have anything in it. We create it for you, you have access, and you can build from scratch. Anything you want to make, you can do that here. Once you've made something, it's very easy to copy it to another course, use it in the academics course that has your students in it, or share it with a colleague. You can move it around really simply. And to get one of these, there is a button right here on this Canvas webpage that says request a sandbox. And it's just going to send an email to a delegate. She's going to handle that for us. And you do not have a limit on sandboxes. So one of the questions this week has been, what if, all of these COVID changes, something happens every year, I have to shift my instruction. How do I manage multiple variations in my courses more easily? And so we were talking about, you build your course and you copy it into a sandbox, and then you've got these 2 instances. The one that's normal, if we ever get a normal year again, and then you've got the one that you're changing and you've got, to shift, maybe snowpocalypse happens again, and then you've got to give everybody more time. So that's definitely an option for you if you want to request more than one sandbox. The next is going to be your actual academic course. So Banner creates these, and they were ready. I do believe it was the week before last. It might have been last week, I'm not sure. Time is sort of jumbled up these days. These came through with you enrolled if you're the instructor of record in Banner. So you should be able to go to Cardinal Apps open Canvas, sign in, and see your course at this time. Now, if you don't see the course that you're supposed to be teaching for summer, then we want to look into that a little bit more about why. It's either you're not in Banner as the instructor of record, or maybe it's hidden. So our dashboard we were looking at has these tiles, but these aren't all my courses. If I come below one icon lower, I can see my course list, and I can come down here and click all courses. And that will show the full of all my enrollments. So it's definitely different. If you don't see it on your dashboard, you'll want to check that spot. Now, to control what you do see on your dashboard, you're going to use the stars, and you just color shows on dashboard, empty does not. That simple. So we're going to go back to the dashboard on that page, and I'm going to jump back over to the academic space. So summer courses were created, and they have what's called a blueprint inside of them. And you'll remember over in Blackboard that you had some template information, quality matters, some sample stuff, and maybe you didn't use it. Well, we didn't want to bring that much stuff inside of Canvas. It's there for you if you want to use it, but as far as pushing it out to every academic space, we kind of pared it down to just the really important pieces that are going to give you quality online space. And I'm just going to walk through what those are so that you're not surprised when you show up to your course and you see what's in there. It came with a home page, and this page is completely customizable. You can change the wording to make it your actual information about your course. You can change the video. If you have an overview video about your content, then you would definitely want to take this example one out. And editing the pages we're going to talk about in that week 3 session for building content. We'll talk about how you click the edit button and you go in and you have this rich content editor, and you can do all sorts of stuff on this page. I'll show you how. So I'm going to cancel that and go back. So other than this home page, you've also got the syllabus. Now, everybody uses a syllabus. It's a document. You give your students all your information. But in Canvas, the syllabus is actually a feature. It's a space in the course that lets you give them that document, but it also has what's called the course summary at the bottom of the page. The course summary is a living, reactive space, right? It ties to the back end of the calendar, and anything you have in your course with assignment due dates is going to automatically populate in this space for you. So if we come over here and we looked at our Blackboard course over here, anything that had a due date is going to populate over here in Canvas. Now, did that really happen? It depends if you had specific due dates and if they transferred over. So that leads me into the third option, your Blackboard copy. So now I open this up. This is an exact copy of my course in Blackboard brought over into Canvas. And I'm going to go to the syllabus, and I'm going to find that here. And you can see my course summary in this Blackboard copy is really long because that's where my content is, but it doesn't have the due dates, and I am going to have to do a little bit of editing and cleaning that up to add that information in. So this is definitely going to be your course syllabus, and you've got complete control over this. And I will again talk about how to update it to make it your information instead of this generic template. You'll get a sample announcement, and we'll talk about using the settings to be able to control this. When you come in, you will get to decide when to let students into your course. So May 10th classes start, but maybe you want to give them access on Friday before that. You'll be able to set the settings on your course, change the date, and then you can have this welcome announcement that's set to time release when your course opens. And then students are basically going to get an email telling them, hey, my class is now open and come take a look. And so we can set all that up so that you don't have to think about it or do anything in real time. The next link I'm going to show you is the modules page. So it was really important that every online course have some course orientation for students, some generic, basic information that everybody uses and needs to know. Not all of this may apply to you exactly, and that's okay. You can easily unpublish it and students will not see it. So if you do not have school and department policies to share with your students, maybe you won't use that link. Now, the rest of it is very self-explanatory, a description and overview, but the page is formatted for you. So all you have to do is come in and put your actual content. You don't really have to think about, structuring the way the course is looking on the page. It's just kind of thought about that for you. And then because it's in a module, we're going to talk about later on in the 5th session, modules and structure. When you create a module, it adds next and previous buttons at the bottom of the page for everything that's in the modules and kind of creates your course into something of a book. So I'm going to click next, and it's going to take us to that next piece that was in the module. And I'm going to do that again just to go through all of the pages. The next one is about your instructor. We've got some information here. Hopefully you're ready to introduce yourself, tell students a little bit more about you and how to contact you. The next one here is going to be a discussion board. So let's just say that first week of class, you're not going to meet face-to-face. You're not going to have any icebreakers to introduce themselves. You can always direct them to come use the discussion board and have them do it there. The next area is a Q&A cafe. Same concept as a discussion board, but it's really a place that they can help themselves and help each other. Maybe somebody asked you a question and it's, what do I need to wear certain clothes when I'm going to the clinic on a certain day? Well, you can answer that here and everybody needs to know what's going on. The next one is going to be success tips and netiquette. It's really basic. You probably don't even need to make any changes, but you might want to add on some RSO specific information for your students if you have some. But basically just talking to them about some best practices on how to be successful in taking, courses that have an online component, and then netiquette about how to behave while they're in the online space. The next one, maybe a show of waving. Do you have RSO students, do they write papers that they might have plagiarism issues? Yes, awesome. So we've put it, say that again?
In some courses we do, yes.
That's great. Yes. So good to know. I'm learning all of these little details about everybody. So yes. Turnitin is going to be the plagiarism checker in Canvas. And so we've created a sample assignment. It does not count towards the grade. As you can tell at the top of the page, it gives a warning. It's not worth any points, and they can do it as many times as they want. They can take their paper, they can upload it, they can see, what the results were. And, you can either use this by publishing it, or if you don't want them to be able to use it, then of course you don't have to. And then this next piece is probably one of the most important that will help you out. It's going to be the help and tech support information. So we put a little thought into, when should students contact you? You might want to change that to be your preferred methods, but having a Canvas question, we have 24/7 support for students as well. If they get stuck, I can't upload this assignment, they can call the support number and they will be able to walk them through making sure that they can troubleshoot and try to figure out what the problem is. Then of course, we've got UIW IT and Help Desk. We've got some basic technical requirements that talk about, browsers and computers. Everybody should know, hands down, if a browser is doing something weird, have a second browser. Firefox and Chrome are my two favorites. Safari is my least favorite. It's a little unpredictable. It just does some things that don't play well with others. Then we're going to have a little blurb here about Wi-Fi and quality internet. So how many students are taking quizzes on Canvas? They're on Wi-Fi, they get disconnected, they get kicked out of the quiz, and then they're emailing the teacher saying, I didn't finish. Well, it's really important that they consider Ethernet connection. It's not as common, so it's kind of something you have to be more explicit about. And I know that the tech specialists are definitely on top of talking to students about that. So we've got a little bit of information here about Lockdown Browser if you're interested in using it. And then we've got some basic videos for students on how they might accomplish this high level stuff that they're, probably going to be most common that they come across. And again, all of this can be edited. You can add more, of course, if you have more that you want included. So I'm going to go and click the next button. And this has actually brought me to my second module. And the second module is not as critical, especially if you have a developed curriculum where you already have your modules pretty much structured and you're just going to be cleaning them up from Blackboard to get them ready to go. However, I'll click back on this modules page so I can show you. We did put a sample here just to give you one idea of what a simple, easy to manage module might look like. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people are going to say, well, my modules are really long. So I'll come over here and show you that Blackboard, beautiful sarcasm of what comes over here. All right. They're huge. You see, you just scroll down the page and it's just stuff and stuff and more stuff. And nobody really is going to want to go through this information the way that it is. So it needs a little reworking. And the best way that you can consider doing that, this is one way. So on the introduction page, you've got that module topic. Maybe, if you do cases, you've got case number 30, and you're going to say the introduction to case number 30 is all about this patient, and this is his circumstances. You can do all of that here. You can add videos, you can add links to files, you can give the context for those materials using text, and all of it's editable. So that's just going to show you a way you could do that. Then the next one is a formatted page for the learning materials and activities. We all have students do something each week. There's going to be stuff they need to know. You can put that on a page. It can be more elaborate, but it's still easy to consume because it's like reading a book. The next one actually is the sample assignment of something you've told them that they need to accomplish. And then the next one after that is a sample quiz. Maybe you're doing something to assess their learning for that period. And then the last one being the review of the topic and whatever they have, maybe they're supposed to do to wrap things up and looking ahead to what's coming up next. So again, these are completely editable. You can unpublish pieces, you can publish pieces, you can copy them. They could all be duplicated and really just used to however you see fit for your course. You can collapse the view as well to help you in your workflow while you're working in all of the mess. So that is the blueprint. It had just some components just to get you started. And we're going to now jump over to the Blackboard course and talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to pause and say, does anybody have any questions before I keep going to that next piece? I've got one thumbs up, so I'm thinking we're good. Again, just interrupt me if you need to. Okay, so on this left-hand side, you see Blackboard, and on the right, you see my course that was copied. I'm going to open up the menus so we can have our bearings a little bit. The home page that copies over is modules because announcements in Blackboard as the home page does not transfer into Canvas. So that's not an option. And Canvas says, oh, well, I don't know what else to do here, so I'm just going to make it the modules page. Again, we recommend the welcome, a home page with information instead of just jumping into the modules. It can be a little alarming to students to just see a list of stuff to work with and not actually feel like there's more conversational text to welcome them. Then that's okay though. All of these announcements that we're looking at in Blackboard are still here. They're just under announcements. So if you are a person who reused announcements in the past, which a lot of people do to save time, you already have a little blurb written about the information for that week. and you don't just use announcements for on-the-fly updates, they're still going to be over here, and you can take them, edit them, and make sure to reuse them. Now, if you don't, that's okay. You can also delete them. So we're just going to look through this stuff briefly, and then I'm going to talk to you about the method to how you might want to best work with all of this information. So announcements are here. I'm going to come to my assignments page. I'm not sure that it's going to be a one-to-one. It's not. So assignments in this Blackboard course are inside the course in different places, whereas in Canvas, it can be in different places and it's going to be on the assignments page. So it's sort of it's an additional feature. It's going to keep track, and it's not duplicating them. So don't worry about if you add an assignment to a module and it's on the assignments page. It's the same one, and they're connected in the back end. Then we're going to look at discussions, and let's see if I even have a discussions link over here. Ooh, I don't think I do. So that brings me to a great point. Your course navigation in Blackboard had a lot of flexibility. In Canvas, it's a little bit more simplified. It requires you to choose from a predefined set of options, and you don't change the names of it because it's really giving you a course link to the feature, not to the thing that you call it. So that's something to keep in mind. Then I'm going to look at the modules area. So I'm going to click on modules, and I'm going to show you this course materials. So let's look at, I think we're probably going to go in units, weeks, maybe. I'm jumping around and guessing. Okay, so you got some course documents here, a lot of stuff down this page. Where your content was in Blackboard, it comes over into modules that are made up of pages and then other assignments or files or links. All of these icons mean something. So this is a page icon. If we scroll down, we will see lots of pages, everything. These are documents. So the paperclip is a document. And then this chain link is a link somewhere else. So if I click this and then I'm going to open it in a new tab, you'll see it brought me out to, well, it brought me to an area that shows me the web page. And then I also have the option to change that and make it open up outside in another tab. So we've got a lot of features to cover. So over here, we're going to take a look at this laboratory folder. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find that laboratory folder right here. This folder in Blackboard became this module space, the square. I'm going to collapse it in Canvas. So that's sort of folders came over as a module, and it's kind of like a storage box. It's got all your stuff inside of it. So then inside this folder, I'll open that up in Blackboard. You'll see these items at the top are represented one-to-one right here at the top. And then there's some more folders which have created subheaders for each one of them. And then the stuff that is in those subfolders is indented one space and listed underneath. Okay, so that's going to be really the main meat of your course that you're going to be working with. The next thing I want to show you is the files. So in Blackboard, files really, it wasn't probably something you thought much about. You added a link or a document, you put it where you wanted it in your course, and you just kind of forgot about it. Well, under the control panel in your content collection is a file space. And it's kind of, they're usually pretty out of control because you didn't really have to manage it. But in Canvas, it's actually nice because it works more like your desktop. You add your stuff back there, you have it organized, and then next semester, when you go to teach this course again, you're going to copy it, and you're going to have some really easy ways to update the information if you've got changes, rather than the way Blackboard handled it, where you sort of just maybe you deleted an item from somewhere in the course, it left it in the back end, you added a new one, and then you've got multiple copies of things going on. We'll talk about strategies to be able to resolve that and have it streamlined. So we have total control over this. We can select a file, we can move it, we can download it. You know, we've got some options. We also have control over our files to be able to publish, unpublish, and then also time release and control who sees them. So there's a lot of choices that we will cover. So what I'd like to show you is that you have got choices for working within your sandbox. So I'm going to have my sandbox. I'm making this bigger so everybody can see it well. I've got my empty sandbox. I've got my blueprint. And I've got my Blackboard copy. So my 3 things I can choose from. Now let's say you want to build from scratch. Maybe you do. I'd like you to have that decision made before next week so that when I come in, we can just figure out what the audience is actually planning to do. And then I'll just focus on what the audience says they're going to do. So maybe you're going to build new, or maybe you're going to clean up your course. Those are the 2 polar opposites, the easiest and the hardest. Now, the most common recommended one is kind of in the middle. That's where you're going to go into your sandbox or your blueprint, and you're going to, I'm going to use the sandbox for this example. You're going to go to settings, and then you're going to want to import course content. And from the drop-down menu, you're going to say copy a Canvas course. And then for my example here, I'm going to say RSO and RSO demo. And I'm going to choose my Blackboard copy. And this is what you would do with your Blackboard copy that was brought into Canvas for you. You would find the name of it and you would select it. And then you would say, I want to select specific content rather than the whole thing. And then you're going to say import, and you're going to get a second red button. And these are always red equals action. You're trying to accomplish something, look for the red button. Then it's going to pop up this, little window. And then you're going to want to spend a decent amount of time picking and choosing what you actually want to keep. You're going to copy it out, and you're going to be done with the mess that is all of it. So the way I recommend doing this is to start with course settings, syllabus body, and modules, and just go through these 3. You're going to hit the drop-down arrow. You're going to see all the modules, and you're going to just want to choose exactly what you want to keep. And you just put a checkbox. And then once you've checked everything that you want, you would click select content, and it would run that process for you and bring everything into where you're trying to work. Then I would say, do it again. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to show you, I'm going to say copy a Canvas course. I'm going to put the name in, and I am going to select specific content and say import, and it's going to let me do it again because I might not want to sit down and do this all at one time because it's a lot of work. So I come back, I say, you know what, today I'm going to accomplish all my assignments. And you can sit down and say, here's the assignments I want to keep. And then same for the quizzes, the question banks, etc., down all the way down. The 2 that are going to be the most complex, it's going to be your pages and your files. You can see these numbers here, 144 pages and 174 files. You probably don't need all of those. It's a little tricky to figure out what you're looking at here though. So I definitely will spend some time next week talking about maybe how to clean up your folder structure in files to make this a little less cumbersome.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you run through it the first time, and then so you have a subset, you are done with, you say you are done with those, you come back a second time, does it gray out the first ones so you don't have to do it again, or you just have to keep a mental note of which ones you've done before?
You need to keep a mental note. So it will not know because it lets you do it as many times as you want. I would say the easiest you could take a screenshot, maybe just, capture that. Or, I mean, sometimes I'll just use my phone and take a picture. However, you can kind of keep track of that. I really think that you're probably so familiar with your course and your materials, it won't be too hard for you. I know for me, looking at a stranger course, for lack of a better term, something I've never worked in, I've never seen, I've never taught, it's just sort of all the same. I don't know what's important versus what isn't. You just don't have that, setback. Okay, I'm going to cancel this and come back to this page. And so really what I'm going to spend the next 5 weeks showing you is all of the features in Canvas and how they work in order to accomplish one of these methods. So every session I've asked, there's sort of in the handout that I sent talking about this, there's a homework assignment. And it's nothing that you have to do, of course, but if you are trying to get a summer course ready by May 10th and you follow along with accomplishing each piece, you're going to be in the place where you're ready for students come that first day of class, for sure. And what I've asked for this next week is to consider, by looking around your Blackboard copy, what do you have going on, thinking about, how much work is this going to be for me? How much work do I have, that's going to keep me from being able to do this, and just sort of think about what's your strategy for accomplishing the tasks at hand. And then do you want to use a sandbox, getting that sandbox, right? And, what's going to be the best method for you to accomplish your goals? So that is really the overview. I am willing to answer any questions on topic, off topic. Really, Canvas, you have everything to learn, and I'm here to facilitate that. What is on your mind?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, I have a couple of main questions. The first one is, if we have quizzes with images, if we export the quiz, will those images that are embedded within the questions go together as a group, or they will be separated and sent to a files or something like that?
That is a really good question. So I think if I understand correctly, you've got images in your quiz question, and how will they be in this file structure? I wish I knew the answer, which I probably do know the answer if I'm familiar with the content enough, right? So I would know, this is how I would check it. I would open the quiz, I would know the file name of what that image was called in the question, and then I could use the search bar that's right up here to find it. So we've got strategies to be able to do it, but I wish I could show you an example, but I don't have one necessarily in this course to do that. But it really would just be as simple as, I can show you right here. If it is a PNG, if I could type correctly, PNG, I can type just that file extension and it'll bring up all the PNG files that I've got. So, even having just a little piece of that puzzle, you can really find what you're looking for.
Sure. I was just curious to see if I would have to dig up the pictures and recreate the quiz, or if it was kind of like a package already, kind of like, okay, here's a quiz, I see this.
It should be a package and it should manage that for you.
Okay, well, I will find out and I will tell you.
I have definitely copied plenty of quizzes in courses, and never did I have to go search for all of the associated stuff that goes with them. I've had to do that in other programs, but Canvas doesn't do that, thankfully.
So that was my first question. And then I had a second one. Is when we, do we have to export our current courses to be used afterwards on Canvas, or this is something that UIW is going to do for all of us for all our courses right now?
So that's a great question. And on the Canvas information page, we have the Blackboard migration schedule is outlined here for what's happening automatically. And so there's also a frequently asked question, what courses are being migrated? And that's talking about everything that was officially academically taught in 2020 is coming over for you. Now you've already got summer, fall is on its way. It's literally running the process right now. And then spring coming up in June. You'll see the course before it's populated. So it will look empty for a bit. So don't be alarmed if it seems like it's not there. You've got to give it time. It's doing some stuff in the back end. And then anything outside of that, this little blurb and this button right here is an export request. You can send it over with a specific other outside of 2020 that you might want.
Yeah, I was also thinking about grade books and things to that end, because if we lose access to Blackboard and maybe we want to, I don't know, I'm just overthinking maybe, and we're trying to say, okay, how did X students do in this course 3 years ago? This information, if we don't save it, it's gonna be lost?
So no, absolutely not. So Blackboard has archived, and we will still, like, we've got the safety net of going through a lengthy process to get things if something were necessary. But I will tell you, I've worked with Dr. Miller already to get your last, I do believe the last 2 years worth of courses already are being handled, so your students have access to study for their boards. So I don't know that I don't know that if it's before that, it's obviously not going to be an issue because we've got archives.
Okay, thank you very much. That's for now, at least. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You were talking, you can hear me, about files and pages. So where does it go where? Because sometimes I thought it was almost the same thing. And then you're saying so many different documents under each category that, could you talk about that a bit?
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, if you are looking at the internet, right? So let's say this example page right here. There's either going to be links that take me somewhere else, or there might be some things put on the page that would open up a document, right? Like let's say I wanted to put a Word document, a link to a Word document on this page. I have to have somewhere that they're saved on the internet so that the internet can show them to you and let you have access to them. That's what your Canvas files space is. It's the back end holding area where you upload your stuff and you can manage it by if you want to have it unpublished, or if you want to, students can't see it until 10 minutes after the test is due and it's got an answer key, you can control that. And then you've got two choices. You can either let students see your files and they can go into this stuff and get it directly, or you can hide the files, which is what we recommend, and you go to a page and you put the link there and you build out your page and your modules for showing students the stuff. So for example, I'll open up one of these. It's an about folders page. This is probably going to be just trashed in this course and not even needed. So I'm going to say edit. And then it takes just a second for it to load. It seems like when I'm on a virtual call, it takes a little longer, but not too bad. So my cursor's on the page. I either can use the tabs at the top. So this is the same concept that you would see in Word. Word has options with words, and then it's got the little picture shortcuts. Same thing going on here. So I can either find the words by insert, and then I can say I want to go to a document and I want to either upload a new one, which I can do. I can find one in my course documents, which is what I'm going to do. The course documents is your files. And so over here, it's showing me all of the stuff that I have in the back end. So it's a lot. I'm just having trouble. And let's just say I want to only see stuff that starts with the word lab. I can use the search feature to kind of, narrow down a little bit, and then I can select the one I want. And when you click it, it puts it right on the page. Now, you're not just set with that only way, and we'll talk about and this is going to come up over and over. You can select, and you can also make that selection of words the link. So you've got lots of choices. So that's basically what's happening here is when I save this page, now my students come in, and I'm going to click my student view so you can see what they see. my student view, now they've got these links on the page. My file's sitting in the back end in files, but students would come here and click this and they would look at the document here or download it to their own device. So really that's going to be for smaller, more manageable files. There is a 2 gig course limit. So videos, not going to want to use this way. And we will talk about specifically where to store your videos. Being Health Professions, we've got Echo 360, we've got Microsoft Stream, and that's going to be able to handle full length, hour-long video. You know, you can really do, the sky's the limit with that. And then we also have the studio option for short videos. Like, let's just say you get 15 emails with the same question and you realize that people aren't really getting it. So you want to record yourself explaining the answer. You can do that in Studio and you can put it in your course. They're all linked together. It's really easy. And that's a great feature for just maybe a 5-minute, hey, you guys, this is how it's done. Does that clarify? We're going to talk about it a lot more. It's really the foundation. We have to use the file structure. It's just no way around it. These are great questions. Any more? It's a lot. It's a lot of information. I will wrap up and maybe give you 10 minutes back of your time. If you don't want to talk, you can stay with me, of course, and keep talking. I'm happy to do that. But I will wrap up and I will say, Canvas is a lot. It has a lot of options. It has a lot of customization, but it's all really the same idea. You push a button, you pick a choice, and you push save. And you just do that over and over again for everything you could possibly want to do. I have been working in Canvas for several years. I was in Blackboard for way too long before that. And then I have to say, I still have to look up the instructions. I still have to use the help menu, come over here and go to the guide and really just find out, like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? So let's say I choose Canvas and I've got, I'm going to go to the instructor guide. There's one for students. There's lots of choices here, but I have instructor guide bookmarked because I use it so often. And I'm just like, I really want to use rubrics, but I'm just not sure. And I click rubrics and I've got these topics that tell me exactly how I'm going to do all of it. And so how do I manage rubrics in my course? Well, I just click this and it's going to have a blue box at the top of every guide that will give you some sort of, I call them like the warnings. They don't really call them the warnings, but you want to read what's in the blue box because the blue box is going to tell you anything odd that you're not expecting. It's sort of where they give you the heads up. And so definitely want to take a look at what that says. And then below that is just going to be pictures of here's what you're going to do. And you just go through step by step and follow them. I chose rubrics just now as the example because rubrics did not come in from Blackboard very nicely. I know in a couple of courses with faculty that I worked with, they were reversed. So what should have been rows became the columns, and then it mixed up the point values. So that's definitely something you'd want to be editing before your students see it.
I thought that when you had rubrics, you can actually copy them from another course. So just the rubric, I don't know, I had tried that, but within Canvas, not from Blackboard to Canvas, and that is easier. I haven't tried to do the other way around.
Yes.
I have a question. You were talking about earlier, how do you make visible or not the files? How do you hide them in settings, or how do you do that? Because I was looking at my current course and they are not hidden whatsoever.
Okay, so when you go to, I'm going to leave the student view because it's not going to let me see my options while I'm in it. And I'm going to come to settings. And in your settings, there's going to be tabs at the top. So you have different options you can choose. And you're going to want to go to navigation. And then this is going to show you all the stuff that students see. And then it says here, drag items here to hide them from students. So everything below that is what they can't see. So we're going to just do this together right now. Like I'm not going to use Edpuzzle maybe right now. I'm not going to use any of this stuff right now, and I'm just going to hide it all because it's a lot and I'm just not ready, and it's really simple to put it back when I am ready. So I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to just hide all of the non-major things. Yeah, that looks good. And then I'm going to say save. And never forget to click save. That's one of the easiest pages to not save, and then you have to do it all over again. So once I've done this, I'm going to come back to the home page and go back to my student view. And when I click student view, you'll see it's going to pop over there any day. And then now you can see I only have this short list visible to the students. And when I leave student view, you can always tell because you've got these eyes that are crossed off. So you're probably noticing I moved all of this stuff off, but some of them stayed. That's because these are, a rubric is typically something a teacher would want to access, even if they don't show it to students. And so some of these just do stick around. There are some quirks, right? If you plan to use Lockdown Browser, you have to move it into the course navigation menu for it to work, right? So you put it up above that bar, and that's going to let you go into the course settings and use that in your quizzes. Your settings is not visible to students, but it doesn't have an eye. That's because it's always there for you as the teacher. Yeah, and then you basically have control over what you show and the order that you put them in.
So if the files, and I'm just going to keep with the same example, are not visible to students, like I had dragged them down, whenever you include one of those documents in your pages, they still will show up to them, will be visible to them or not?
So if all you've done is come to files and you've hidden it from students so they can't see this link, and you upload stuff here and you don't do anything with it, they cannot access it. So the only way to get to this is to click this link. And if you take it away from your students, then they can't get to it. Now, if you've put a link on a page to this document, then they can see that document.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I was asking, because I wasn't sure if you hide the files have the link in the pages, if they will still have access or not. And you said that they do.
You will. They do. Yes. So that's exactly how it's designed to work. And then you have some control though. So you can have a link, like so this is one of the tips that I will reiterate over the next few weeks. I think that it is the easiest thing in the world for you is to have the full structure of your course set up before you start teaching. It really alleviates a lot of the stress of trying to build a course as you go. But I also am a realist. I know that you're not going to have every single piece of information in place. So there are some tricks of how you can handle that. So let's just say, for example, doctor number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? These are my core documents. I only have number 1 set up with all the details. I have to release that the first week of class. It's got to be ready. But let's say I've got some work to do on 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can put these links on the pages and have it ready to go, but I can come back here and uncheck the green button and say unpublish. And students will click on that link and it will just not work for them. So that's frustrating for the students. But if you tell them in an announcement, the documents in module 2 are under construction and the links are not active yet, then all you have to do is come back, upload the new version, replace it, and then publish it. And you do all of that management from this page rather than having to upload the file and go put the link and do all the multiple steps.
So what I thought that you could actually do, since you were saying like in construction, like you leave it as a placeholder, you're going to have that document in there, but then you can replace it for exactly the same name, right, of the document. So you will just replace one for the newer version, right?
So absolutely. So that's like the next level up. You're a little bit more expert. That's a great trick. And absolutely, the trick to files that you never want to forget is the exact same name will let you replace the document and all of the changes will flow throughout your course for you. No manual updates needed throughout the course. It has to be the same name. So you don't want to name your document, syllabus 2021, because 2021 is going to change next year. You just name it syllabus and it's 2021 because that's the course that you're in.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Great questions. I hope everybody, got what they were looking for. I will stop the recording and I am going to actually